Well, hello there, everybody. How are you doing? A little bit of Jim Morrison in the doors. That's what we're talking about. Because, folks, it feels like it is riders on the storm everywhere you look. I mean, hello. Yikes. So I trust everyone is doing good as I get myself up here and got everything running. There we go. Looks good. We are 5 by 5, as they would say. So, favor to everybody. Hey, Cass Hawks, how you doing, my love? Good to see you, dear. David Castle, how you doing? Chloe, Nina the Mystic, saw a little bit of your show. How are you doing, dear? Good to see you. Faith E, hey, I like that. How are you doing? Good to see you. Go, good to see you. Linda Brooks, Ice Pike, how you doing? David Castle, Flight Risk, they let you out, huh? Good to see you. Scotty Boy and Janie, good to see you. John Price, Isby, hello, and Emperor Rex, Robert Scott, how you doing? Emerald Eagle, Chrissy Hines, hello, how are you doing? Good to see you. So, favor everybody. I'm telling you, there is enough weirdness out there. It's crazy. I mean, it is getting really, 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 really strange. Hey, Lost in Space, what's up? So I'm just going to speak favor. We're prospering. Be of service to others. I'm telling you, nothing missing, nothing broken. We got favor going in. We got favor coming out. You know, no matter what it is, we always come out on top. We are always made to be the head, and we always are above. So that's how I'm going to roll with it. I don't know about the rest of you, but it works for me. Hey, Teresa, what's up, girl? Good to see you. Hello, Francis. How are you doing, my friend? So good to see you. Troy, what's up? So, yeah, that's all I got to say. So the angel, that the card that I just happened to pull is, and this is an interesting, Pahaliah, Pahaliah, angel of redemption. Can I get an amen somewhere? Deus Redemptor. I love that. Deus Redemptor. There's something about Latin I just really like, you know. Might be because I'm 11% Italian. Who knows? Hey, Joe Sapien, what's up? Doing the dishes. Hey, listen, that's a great time to meditate. Hey, Martin and Heidi, much love to you. Hello, Jules. What's up? I hear you're going to be leaving at the bottom of the hour. That's okay. They always got replay. I'm not sure if Guy and Paul are here, but if they are, how are you doing? Susie Q, what's up, girl? Dave Sullivan. There's the amen. All right. Astronomer one. So, all right. I mean, you know, listen, there used to be a phrase that we used back in my Pentecostal days, you know, I'm not going to shut you down because you're preaching good, you know. So that's what I got to say. But this is a cool angel, God of the Redeemer, patron of people who need deliverance, salvation, and freedom. We all can use poquito. No. Okay. Maybe grande. Yeah, favor. Grande favor. Oh yeah. Being brings transcendence of, wow, now that's an interesting one. Brings transcendence of sexuality, purity within intimacy, divine sexual union, and how about that? And it literally says this, what is that, right? Certification of errors produced by exalted desires. Wow. Someone sent me a very cool video. I'll have to share it because the guy did a great job on this thing we're under. I mean, yeah. Brings initiation, vitality, dynamism, bravery, and courage. teaches how to find harmony in spiritual life and marriage, brings fidelity, establishes the norms in our instinctual behavior, or allows us to get rid of old and bad behaviors, helps to encounter our divinity and purity, opens unbelievers' eyes. Wow. Shows how to act morally. And again, it defines who's defining the word. I mean, whose construct are we using as the fabric of the background? Let's see. Facilitates to recognize our divine nature and inner self. Symbol of release, freedom, immunity, riddance, wow, rescue, resource, help, and assistance. Well, far out. So what's up, everybody? So good to see everyone. I think of all of you a lot because, folks, we are living in some very, these are unprecedented times. They really are. And there's stuff happening in the world that's just, you just shake your head and going, what's that song? When will we ever learn? Where have all the flowers gone? And it's true. We just can't seem to get it right. And I have seen some stuff this weekend that was just, it convinces me that there's two types of people out there right now. There are those who are the obeyers, and then there's the others. Hey, Deborah Trucks, what's up, hon? Much love to you, hon. Good to see you. We are eating strawberries from the farm. All right, Martin Heidi, if you're going to eat that, you've got to share it. That's all I got to say. You got to share with everybody. I mean, yeah, if we can only figure out how to do Willy Wonka's smell-o-vision, All right, everyone just close their eyes and just think. Now, I'm talking about the big type of strawberries, and they're chilled, and let's just put it in our mouth. Martin and Heidi, you do the real thing, because we're going to psychically connect to your taste sensation, because that's an energy, that's a force. When we taste something that just makes us salivate. Lynn and I saw a little baby for the first time that actually ate a piece of cake. A kid was in ecstasy, man. It's like, what? So let's just close our eyes and just, yeah, I can see that. All right. Well, that's how you do it. That's how the experiment works. And we're going to be talking about experiments today. See, Susie Q's got it with a little bit of blueberry and a little bit of cherry. I like that. Jill says my mouth is watering with straw. You see, it really works. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm salivating. I'm going to have some of my, my tea. Nothing wrong with spiced tea. See, Martin and Heidi said we're sharing together, and it works. I'm telling you. You just have to view life. So let's go, Brandon. That's all I got to say. Right on. And moving right on along. So it became very clear to me, and I was talking to Lynn about this last night. I made some beef stew that was, blue ribbon. I mean, it's just blue ribbon right across the board. And I was telling her, I said, are you seeing it more and more? And it's like some are affected and others not. And two people sent me the same email with the same document. And I thought, I read it and I went, there's some validity to this because I participated in one of these. So I want to get right into it. Little Red Haze, what's happening? Good to see you. Gaza, much love to you. Elderberry as well. Gaza, think about you. And Lithuania, we are sending you people. We're sending you love. and protection. And folks, just go and do your own research and see what's taking place. Mm, 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 mm. Marissa, good to see you as well. So let's get right into this. And it's interesting, again, because we're seeing a phenomenon that is taking place. It's just, you can't deny it, Jack. I mean, it's there. And so looking at this subject, it's really interesting on the things that were happening 60 years ago and what we're seeing today, and understanding that it really is all about control. In the movie They Live, Rowdy Piper, who played the main character, and I missed that guy. Cool. He was very entertaining dude. But in the movie, we all know that when he put the sunglasses on, reality came in. And we, as a hybrid species, mankind is not human. There are no humans on the planet. None. There's hybrids by the billions. And it's interesting because it seems that we are really susceptible to mass hypnosis, mass programming, mass suggestions. I mean, it's real funny because the bots are listening. AI is listening to this program. And how we know that is that because I'll say something purposely just to make sure. And, it seems like no sooner am I off than there's an ad that appears. So anyway, this is a interesting document. I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is about just that, MK Ultra, how it came about, who was the first one to bring it and find out that there really is such a thing as mass control. The televisions, the streaming services, the black boxes are the masters. They are the master controllers. It is the 4 a.m. effect. And if you don't know what the 4 a.m. effect is, you need to look into it. So anyway, I just want to get into this very quickly. It's just the first intro. This is a guy by the name of Mark Ewan Phillips. He was born in 43 of May in Nashville, Tennessee. As the story goes, no criminal record. He worked for the government, and in this book, he documents how people can, in fact, and are targeted. It's called Trauma-Based Mind Control. Through the Department of Defense, admits that this ancient wizard's mechanism for control is so dangerous that most information pertaining to it must remain classified as top secret. You see, many of us get ridiculed because of our practice in the occult, magic. But what they don't understand is that our very government is founded on these ancient, and I can just simply say it, they seem to originate from the Indus Valley, along with Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Mayans, Incas, the original people. There is a knowledge that connects into what I have been saying for some time. I believe that this really is an ancient Mesopotamian force. I say Mesopotamian because it seems that is where it began to regenerate itself, metamorphosized, if you want to say. It reconstituted itself into this thing about religion. This video, I just watched a little bit of it. There was a point that it was brilliant when it was said, was that the reason why religion is failing today, you see, religion, its role was to help explain the world. Because before we had modern telecommunications, communications in general, communication was pretty much left in the local area. And the church, in its indoctrination, provided the entertainment. You have the story of this magical being who comes from nowhere, and it can just snap its fingers and magical things appear. And its story is just fascinating because you find out how long ago, and we buy into it. Why? Because it's a form of hypnosis. It's indoctrination. It's, call it what you want, ancient mind control. And that's what religions are. Religions are the same as politics, the same as ideologies. They're all of the same thing. Once you're in it, then you're for our team. And if you're not for our team, then you're on somebody else's team. And that means you're not on our team. Yeah, you broke the spell. Anyway, he goes on to say that this super secret technology is an evolved system of remote human physical fine, that psychological manipulation that has recently been officially recognized by accredited mental health physicians for what it is: absolute mind control. Now, in the 60s and 70s, and I guess going into somewhat the degree of the 80s, they had the phenomenon of deprogramming kids. There were many cults back then. I don't see as many today. And I think it's because the black box is the cult, but I digress. And what you had were deprogrammers. In L. Ron Hubbard's Dianetics, and later into EST, I was a part of all those. And it's really interesting to see the experience. And the problem is that there are some of us who are just genetically, or maybe it's just spiritually, maybe it's the iron in our blood, I don't know. But in case after case, there were those who just really got into it. I mean, whew. And then there was others like myself that was going, okay, that was a cool experience. Okay, I gained some knowledge out of that. But what the hell are you people doing? Anyway, he goes on to say that this was primarily where he learned this, is at Emory University, very prestigious university right there in Atlanta, where they were working with the Yerkes Primates Center. There's where he learned the primate behavior modification, which was the basis for human mind control. Remember, they didn't send a human up, well, a hybrid up in space. There was a dog, and then there was a monkey, a primate, chimpanzee, I believe. Anyway, he goes on to say that what he also learned, it did not adequately prepare me for what he said I would be exposed to in 1988 through an unexpected chain of events. This exposure came from the form of a personal acquaintance with the human results officially entitled by the Department of Defense as, among other cryptic files, known as MK Ultra. Now, eventually this came out with Kathy O'Brien's story about her and her daughter, of what was really going on. They were horribly, and I do have, and you can easily get her testimony. But really what it came down to was this, that this is a U.S. government secret weapon of control. And that's really what it is. Now, he goes on to say, he says, the grim reality we must all embrace is that there is, in human terms, no justice and no revenge adequate to equal what these two, as he said, and many other victims of the U.S. government's secret weapon experiments. Experienced, but it was part of an experiment. So a couple of more things in here. This is, by the way, directly from the U.S. Senate. This was in a Senate hearing specifically about Project Mockingbird. And here's where kind of the cat got out of the bag, so to speak, because this is where we learned that the CIA was in fact using journalists and clergy in an intelligence operation. And it's real interesting. Now, if you want the document, I can easily provide it to you. But I want to get into one aspect of this. It was admitted at this point that the CIA, the United States military, the Department of Defense, regrettably, the Justice Department, has participated in the past in, well, experiments on the American public. And this came out all in testimony. You can read this for yourself. It's some 50 pages of it. I won't get into it all. But really what came out of that was this. This is the CIA's document that was released under the Freedom of Information Act. And in this document of Project Mockingbird, we find out some interesting stuff. This one is called the Family Jewels. We can't see what the top one is because it's still deemed classified, but we get a pretty good idea about what the heck was going on. And if they did it back then, we know today it's being done. There is no privacy if you have any internet connected device. And here we have number 2, Johnny Roselli, the use of a member of the mafia in an attempt to assassinate Fidel Castro. What? 3, Project Mockingbird. During the period from 12 March 63 to 15 June 63, this office installed telephone taps on 2 of Washington-based newsmen who were suspected of disclosing classified information obtained from a variety of governmental and congressional sources. So this is, back in the day, and it's still going on today. Admission that our government was involved in surveillance and other activities that basically kind of blew the whole thing open that, well, now, wait a minute. What else were they doing? That is a good question that leads us into the final one. And you can read these again. This one is a very short one. Basically, they got a treasure trove of information in how basically you have this connecting the dots, right? And the CIA is really good at connecting the dots. So this, again, was sent to me by 2 different people. When that happens, I look at these and I go, okay, what's going on here? And you can do your own research. You just go back and, go to the great God. God is now Google. And then you have the substrates of God, which are the other type of search engines. But basically, it's God. I mean, you can ask it anything you want, and it's going to give you your answer right there. Really doesn't care what your religion is. So that's why I'm all right. So it goes here with back in 31, when Dr. Cornelius Rhodes, under the auspiciousness of the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Investigations, infects human subjects with cancer cells. He later goes on to establish the U.S. Army biological warfare facilities in Maryland, Utah, and Panama, and is named to the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. While there, he begins a series of radiation exposure experiments on American soldiers and civilian hospital patients. Now, having been a survivor of Lyme disease, we know when I looked into it, because it's a devastating little freaking tick. Well, we got our military to thank us for that. And many millions later now who have been infected that because it got out of the lab. 1932, we all know about Tuskegee. The syphilis study begins where 200 Black men diagnosed with syphilis are never told of their illness, are denied treatment, and instead are used as human guinea pigs in order to follow the progression and symptoms of the disease. They all subsequently die from syphilis. Their families never told that they could have been treated. Now, this is reality. And I know that sometimes on these platforms, they don't like reality, but this is reality. It's not fake news. It's not made up. This is actual history, our history. 1935, the pellagra incident. After millions of individuals die from pellagra over a span of 2 decades, the U.S. Public Health Service finally acts to stem the disease. The director of the agency admits it had been known for at least 20 years that pellagra is caused by a niacin deficiency, but failed to act since most of the deaths occurred within poverty-stricken Black populations. Not pretty, is it? Yeah. 1940. 400 prisoners in Chicago are infected with malaria in order to study the effects of a new and experimental drug to combat the disease. Nazi doctors later on trial at Nuremberg cite the American study to defend their own actions during the Holocaust. You know, facts don't care about your feelings. 1942, chemical warfare services begin mustard gas experiments on approximately 4,000 servicemen. The experiments continued until 1945 and made use of the Seventh-day Adventists who chose to become human guinea pigs rather than serve on active duty. Hell of a species, aren't we? In 1943, in response to Japan's full-scale germ warfare program, the U.S. begins research on biological weapons at Fort Detrick, Maryland. 1944, the United States Navy uses human subjects to test gas masks and clothing. Individuals were locked in a gas chamber and exposed to mustard gas and lucite. 1945, Project Paperclip is initiated. The U.S. State Department, Army Intelligence, and the CIA recruit Nazi scientists and offer them immunity and secret identities in exchange for work on top secret government projects in the United States, i.e. Plum Island. You know, it's got to think about this. If I could develop a tick to carry a biological agent, well, I can let those little bastards out anywhere. And you'd never know until, humans start getting sick, which I was one of them. 1945, Program F is implemented by the United States Atomic Energy Commission, the AEC. This is the most extensive U.S. study of the health effects of fluoride, which was the key chemical compound in atomic bomb production. One of the most toxic chemicals known to man, fluoride, have a sip of water, everybody, is found, causes marked adverse effects to the central nervous system, but much of the information is squelched in the name of national security because of fear that lawsuits would undermine full-scale production of atomic bombs. I don't know who the hell had the idea. I do. Just look your own research. I did a whole video on it about putting fluoride in the water system. It's not just for what you think. It's a spiritual component. It turns the switch off. 1946, patients in VA hospitals are used as guinea pig for medical experiments. In order to allay suspicions, an order is given to change the word experiments to investigations or observations whenever reporting a medical study performed in one of the nation's veterans hospitals. So it's no longer experiments. It's investigations or observations. It's more sanitized. It's, how should we say? It has a certain etiquette to it. 1947, Colonel E. Kilpatrick of the United States Atomic Energy Commission issues a secret document 070750001, January 8, 1947. There's your key, stating that the agency will begin administering intravenous doses of radioactive substances to human subjects. 1947, the CIA begins its study of LSD as a potential weapon for the use by American intelligence. Human subjects, both civilian and military, are used with and without their knowledge. Now, on YouTube, you can actually go and see those experiments. They had a housewife. She was very interesting. I mean, I know exactly where she was at. It's very interesting. And I was a part of one of those studies. 1950, Department of Defense begins plans to detonate nuclear weapons in desert areas and monitor downwind residents for medical problems and mortality rates. 1950, an experiment to determine how susceptible an American city would be to a biological attack. The U.S. Navy sprays a cloud of bacteria from ships over San Francisco. Monitoring devices are situated throughout the city in order to test the extent of the infection. Many residents become ill with pneumonia-like symptoms. Again, this is not fake news. This is not just simply, this is our history. This is what our military have done to us, along with the CIA and other sort of type groups. 1951, Department of Defense begins open-air tests using disease-producing bacteria and viruses. Tests last through 1969, and there is concern that people in the surrounding areas have been exposed. 1953, U.S. military releases cloud of zinc cadmium sulfate gas over Winnipeg, St. Louis, Missouri, Minneapolis, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Monocacy River Valley in Maryland, and Leesburg, Virginia. Their intent is to determine how efficiently they can disperse chemical agents. Now, in the test in St. Louis, because my family was part of that, it just sucked what they did. And in the primary areas, get this, is because back in those days, the trolley car systems were how most of the people congregated. Yeah. 53, Joint Army Navy CIA experiments are conducted in which tens of thousands of people in New York and San Francisco are exposed to the airborne germs Serrata, and I think that is Serrata, Marscazines, or Belliconosis glockliga, I believe that is. If it isn't, I did a great job butchering it. 53, CIA initiates Project MK Ultra. This is an 11-year research program designed to produce and test drugs and biological agents that would be used for mind control and behavior modification. 6 of the sub-projects involved testing the agents on unwitting human beings. 1955, the CIA, in an experiment to test its ability to infect human populations with biological agents, releases a bacteria withdrawn from the Army's biological warfare arsenal over Tampa Bay, Florida. 1955, Army Chemical Corps continues LSD experiments, studying its potential use as a chemical incapacitating agent. More than 1,000 Americans participated in the test, which continued until 1958. 1956, U.S. military releases mosquitoes infected with yellow fever over Savannah, Georgia, and Avon Park, Florida. Following each test, the Army agents posing as public health officials test victims for effects. Sure. 1958, LSD again is tested on 95 volunteers of the Army Chemical Weapons Laboratory for its effect on intelligence. And what they found continued to say, well, we ain't stopping there. And they didn't. 1960, the Army Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence, ASCI, authorizes full field testing of LSD in Europe and the Far East. Testing of the European population is codenamed Project Third Chance. Testing of the Asian population is codenamed Project Derby Hat. 1965, CIA and Documented Defense begin Project MK Search, a program to develop the capability to manipulate human behavior through the use of mind-altering drugs. 1965, prisoners at the Home State Prison in Philadelphia are subjected to dioxin, the highly toxic chemical compound in Agent Orange used in Vietnam. The men are later studied for development of cancer, which indicates that Agent Orange had been suspected of a carcinogen all along. 1966, CIA initiates Project MK Often, a program to test the toxicological effects of certain drugs on humans and animals. You know, all the cattle mutilations. Just saying. 1966, U.S. Army dispenses bellicosis subtilis variant Niger throughout the New York City subway system. More than 1 million civilians are exposed when the Army scientists drop light bulbs filled with the bacterium onto ventilation gates. 1967, CIA and Department of Defense implement Project MK Naomi, successor to MK Ultra, and designed to maintain, stockpile, and test biological and chemical weapons. 1968, CIA experiments with possibility of poisoning drinking water by injecting chemicals into the water supply of the FDA in Washington, D.C. 1969, Dr. Robert McMahon of the Department of Defense requests from Congress $10 million to develop within 5 to 10 years a synthetic biological agent to which no natural immunity exists. Now, you just got to ask, why? Why would anyone want to even do that? I mean, where is your head at? I mean, and these are supposedly educated individuals. 1970, funding for the synthetic biological agent is obtained under House Resolution 15090. The project, under the supervision of the CIA, is carried out by the Special Operations Division at Fort Detrick, the Army's top secret biological weapons facility. Speculation is raised that molecular biology techniques are used to produce AIDS-like retroviruses. 1970, United States intensifies its development of an ethnic weapons military review, November 1970, designed to selectively target and eliminate specific ethnic groups who are susceptible due to genetic deficiencies, differences, and variations in DNA. 1975, the virus section for Fort Detrick Center for Biological Warfare Research is renamed the Frederick Cancer Research Facilities and placed under the supervision of the National Cancer Institute. Did any of you know this? I went, why? Why? It's here that the Special Virus Cancer Program is initiated by the United States Navy, purportedly to develop cancer-causing viruses. It is also here that the retrovirologists isolate a virus to which no immunity exists. Again, why? I mean, did some of this in their head just, explode and they got like an IQ of 4? It is later named HTLV, human T-cell leukemia virus. Check that one out. 1977. The Senate hearing on health and scientific research confirms that 239 populated areas had been contaminated with biological agents between 1949 and 1969. Some of the areas included San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Key West, Panama City, Minneapolis, St. Louis, New York City, Dallas, Houston. 1978, experimental hepatitis B vaccine trials conducted by the CDC begins in New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Ads for research subjects specifically asked for promiscuous homosexual men. 1981, the first case of AIDS are confirmed in homosexual men in New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, triggering speculation that AIDS may have been introduced via the hepatitis B vaccine. 1985, according to the Journal of Science, Article 227, Section 173 to 177, HTLV and Visna, VISNA, a fatal sheep virus, are similar, indicating a close taxonomic and evolutionary relationship. 1986, according to the proceedings of the National Academy of Science, HIV and VISNA are highly similar and share all structural elements, except for a small segment which is nearly identical to HTLV. This leads to speculation that HTLV and VISNA have been linked to produce a new retrovirus to which no natural immunity exists. 1986, a report to Congress reveals that the United States government's current generation of biological agents includes modified viruses, naturally occurring toxins, and agents that are altered through genetic engineering to change immunological character and prevent treatments by all existing vaccines. 1987, Department of Defense admits that despite a treaty banning research and development of biological agents, it continues to operate research facilities at 127 facilities and universities around the nation. And I remember back in the 80s, this was a really big deal. It dominated Time magazine, U.S. News and World Report. It was very big. I was at the time a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., knew Congressman Bob Young, and they were pissed. It's an understanding that your military does stuff that you don't want the civilian population to know, because war is a bitch. But this kind of stuff, it was freaking everybody out. And again, if you've had relatives that date back to these dates, the very good chance that they were unwittingly participants of this. 1990, more than 1,500 6-month-old Black and Hispanic babies in Los Angeles are given an experimental measles vaccine that had never been licensed for use in the United States. CDC later admits that parents were never informed that the vaccine being injected to their children was experimental. Now, I know this is controversial today, but it's the history here. And this is not something that's far right, far left, far up or down. This is what our government has done. It even got so bad where you'll see here that President Bill Clinton apologized to the nation. October 3rd, 1995, President Clinton apologizes publicly to the thousands of people who became victims of MK Ultra and other mind-controlled experiment programs. And I think at the point, what I'm trying to drive here primarily is that ain't right. We're at a time now where censorship is it's off the scale. I bet I had 2 thumbs down. But, we're adults. We're children. We don't need to be handheld, nor do we need someone feeding us. We're adults. And listen, the best way to have knowledge is to have truth. And it's very evident that we as a species, there's something wrong with us. There's just something fundamentally wrong with us. That you have human beings that even think of this type of nonsense. And today we live in an environment now that is just becoming ridiculous. We don't talk about it here. Why? Well, there's another one. Well, keep on hitting it, folks. That means you are cognitively being exposed to truth. And when I see the thumbs down, it tells me you can't handle the truth. That's just fact. Jack Nicholson's talking to you. You can't handle the truth. Let's see. What's going on? Read their short report and authorization of experiments, and I knew, yeah. It's so there's two sides of every perspective here. So let's take the side of the case of those who conduct these experiments. What could ever be the reasonable acceptance of doing such? Well, I mean, if you're a person who loves your country, you're in the military, and virology is your baby, you could almost see it as a call to national pride, national security. There's a number of this. Within these experiments, vast amounts of information. Listen, if it wasn't for many of the doctors in the 17th, 18th centuries, possibly going back earlier, that would go and hire people to bring them fresh corpse to their laboratories. And they would then begin to do what we would call today an autopsy. And it was because of those scientists back then that were considered monsters that we understood how the biological system worked. Today, we benefit from that. I mean, you have to be adult here and look at both sides. And so if you didn't have what would be called these horrendous experiments, observations, let's just say, progress wouldn't be made. So, I mean, you can't bitch on one hand if you are benefiting from the knowledge that has been ascertained through means that would be, may have a moral or ethical deal on it. I'm trying to be diplomatic here, but yeah, I think you can reasonably see there is another part to this. And then there's the other part, like, well, what the hell were you thinking? I mean, the whole story behind Lyme disease is that it got out of the laboratory there on Plum Island and somehow or another landed on the shore of Lyme, Connecticut. And that is where the first human that was diagnosed with that particular bacterium. And it sucks. I can tell you. For myself, it damn near killed me. I had spinal meningitis at the same time, but still, yeah. And there were times after that when I would be on an airplane and I'd always look, because, you look back and you're thinking, that's recycled air. Movies have been done on this, wouldn't take much to let something into the ventilation system. Can you imagine what it was like back in the 70s when they used to let people smoke on planes? They finally banned cigars, but it wasn't until the 80s that finally, what would you like, smoking or non-smoking? Are we breathing the same air? Well, yes, but, where you're seated makes the difference. Yeah, but they're smoking right up there. Well, that's the smoking section. can still remember, boy, this is going back, and how you would get into the seat and they literally had those little ashtrays. Remember that? This is going back. And it was always, disgusting that I can still remember that funky smell, that you had a heavy smoker in there. You're going, but I don't want to sit in this seat. Anyway, A King says, even in the 80s, I don't know when it was finally figured out that, gee, I mean, you were a non-smoker when you first got on the flight, but the time you got off the flight, you're already a smoke a day, a pack a day already. It's like, hey, mom, what's happening? It's like, what? You're only 12 years old. That's all right, man. I had already about 6 of those cigarettes on the airplane. That's all. A King, your parents were flight attendants. Yeah, you would know. Yeah, that would make sense. Folks, listen, I brought this out because it's just simply to be aware of the fact that it's history. And you have to factor it in with all the madness today. I don't know. I had a senator friend, nice guy, really nice guy. And he told me once, he said, Wayne, he says, we don't know. He said, we would like to know what people think we do know. But he says, many times we know maybe just a little bit more than the average person on the street. And I told him one time, I said, we were having dinner, and I said, well, how do you deal with that? He says, just like you do. You get something in your hand, you're going, what? And, of course, the expletives come. But anyway, the good old days. Yeah, Paul, I'll tell you what. What were we thinking? And it's funny, you go back and film because, that's the industry I come out of. Film, go look in the 40s and the 50s, even the 60s. Everybody smoked. I always like the scene where it's the doctor talking to the patient, and the doctor says, here, would you like a cigarette? Well, sure, doc, I think I'd like to do that. Thanks, Oh, man, I'll tell you what, at least Dr. Welby didn't smoke. Isn't that right? I don't know about Dr. Kildare, but I know that Dr. Welby didn't. It's crazy. And in fact, in the 50s, doctors recommended to pregnant women that they should smoke. Sure. Okay. I mean, the whole point to this is, do you think that we still make those kind of mistakes? I don't think we're that much more intelligent, but the idea in the 50s, what you really need, dear, to settle that anxiety and that morning sickness is that I recommend that you get a pack of Lucky Strikes, and, that will help. Really? Sure. Yeah. Makes sense. Let's see. Little Redhead say, we must look at both sides of the coin. Always do your homework. And you can also lead a horse to water, but you can't make him the drink. Isn't that a fact? Oh, man. So anyway, interesting show. Just put it out there. It's just human nature. I often wonder about, particularly, where herbs are concerned. The reason why witches were so respected in so many, and even the shaman and the shamanesses, was because they had figured out, and I don't know how they did this with the different herbs, the different things that were non-poisonous. I mean, what happened? Well, what happened to Jane? I don't know. I saw her over there picking something, and I mean, is that how you found out? Well, we don't want to eat that now. Let's put that down in our book. What was she eating exactly? I mean, yeah. Let's see. The last time I flew was Lithuania, smoking, drinking, and couples movies. Now, John Price is, and a couple of movies. Okay. All right. So they were actually smoking? How long ago was that? You know, if they could only figure it out on an airplane, how you could actually isolate that, maybe have one of those cones of silence, you know, that comes down. So I don't know. Eventually they're going to have pot. I mean, what are you going to do about that? You know, when Congress legalizes it, as so many states already have. If they only knew how many people were probably already eating the edibles, that's what I say. And it's great to bake with. You know, if you really get that mixture down to like a flour powder, man, no excuses. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Is that when you come in late? Doctors are so controlled. You know, Plateau, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's true. Plant telepathy is real. Yeah, yeah. And they wonder why we self-medicate. Our species has self-medicated from day one. Think about it. What was the first thing that Noah did when he got off that damn boat? I mean, you have to admit, the guy had to say, I had enough of these damn people. I'm going to kill them. So he gets off the boat. What does he do? He makes wine. In 1996, Martin and Heidi said they could still smoke on the plane. Yeah. Isabella, I'm right there with you, sailor. Yep. They were smoking in the X-Files. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I love this group. This is like having our own little coffee house, you know. I don't drink coffee, but you know, I was driving around yesterday and I was commenting to Lynn. I said, we only went like a mile and a half and there were 4 Starbucks and each one had a line of cars at it. I told her, I said, you know, I never did like Starbucks, never drank it. She thinks it's too bitter, but man, the people are, how many of y'all are the Starbucks, you got your loyalty card? Bet there's a lot of y'all, you know. The cigarette man. Yeah. Mulder's nemesis and then became his benefactor, right? I'm just looking at that. All right, folks. Well, this was fun. This really was fun. I appreciate all of you so much. You just, it makes it worthwhile. And so I'm enjoying the time that we do have together. Weed and coffee, my own. There you go. There you go. I don't have any probably nasty coffee. He says, apparently, you know, now I love the smell of ground coffee. Oh, yeah. Lynn and I got married out in Hawaii, and the great thing that we did one day is that we just went to the different little coffee farms, and she got pretty buzzed on that. I mean, you see those people that begin to talk really fast, you know, and you're going like this, and you're wondering, but that the aroma of the coffee in each one of these little boutique farms were quite interesting. That Canona coffee. Thanks you, Jack. Dreaming. Appreciate it. Hey, Grace, what's up? I don't support but I love coffee. Yeah, I love tea. I mean, tea is like, yeah. All right, folks. Well, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey, thank you, Emerald. Appreciate it. Miss Space Cakes, how you doing? Don't support as much as the corporations as possible. Hey, listen, I'm right there with you. Oh, this is American Bully. Grace, how you doing? What about the conversation about gin magic? We're going to talk about that. Those gin, they're not like the Americans' spirits. The gin, those are Those are the powerful ones. That's just my opinion. Thank you, Nina the Mystic. Much love to you, hon. Martin, Heidi, thank you. A lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun with y'all. All right. See you tomorrow with Miss Trina. Don't know what we'll be talking about, but it will be no doubt interesting, to say the least. Thank you, Teresa, David Castle, Chloe, much love, Dave Sullivan. Gaza, keep safe there, my friend. Thinking of you and Jules and the rest of y'all down there. Yeah. All right. Hey, Crystal, what's up? John Price, good to see you later. Deborah Truex, much love to you, honey. All right, everyone. Emperor X, peace out. Ginger, good to see you. Laura, I will see you. Hey, Loretta. All right, everyone. We will talk to you tomorrow.